Hello and welcome to the first of Homestage's Classical Wednesdays. This is going to be a once-a-month series featuring, as you might guess from the title, classical music, but classical music in a very broad and wide sense. For this initial programme, we're at Blakeney Church in the beautifully scenic Glaven Valley on the North Norfolk coast, with Julian Godlee and Brenda Blewett. We recorded them for Homestage in advance of their recitals in Cley and Blakeney earlier this year, which were sadly only heard by a small COVID-compliant audience. The hazy and atmospheric marshland scenery and seascape of North Norfolk is perhaps the perfect setting for Julian's fine bass voice and Brenda's expert piano accompaniment. I began by asking Julian and Brenda to tell us about the first piece we'll be hearing, Schumann's wonderful song cycle Dichterliebe.
So tell me why Dichterliebe is such a popular cycle. Why is it so loved by people, do you think?
It's just amazing music, isn't it? Don't you think?
I do.
It's a really beautiful story. It's a very poignant story. And such beautiful music, and it's so beautifully written for the piano. And
why is it so? It's beautifully written for the piano because for his wife, for Schumann's wife Clara.
For Schumann's wife Clara, who of course was an amazing pianist, and he wrote this cycle, I believe, when he had finally married her. They'd been in love for a long time.
In 1840.
Very good.
Very impressive.
Very good, and it's an outpouring of his love for her.
And 1840 was called the Year of Song, because he wrote, I was going to say 140 songs. I'll have to check that, but thereabouts.
Yeah.
And I have this lovely quote in my mind where he says, "My darling Clara, I can't stop myself writing. I feel I could sing myself to death like a nightingale."
Oh,
isn't that lovely?
Isn't that beautiful?
And the songs are some of them are incredibly short, aren't they? 30 seconds, some of them. There's 16 songs.
Yeah.
Some of them are incredibly short, and some are much bigger and bolder. And Ich grolle nicht is the sort of famous big song, but there are quite a few big songs in it. And it was not written originally for a higher voice than mine. It was written for tenor voice, and we've heard it a lot sung by tenors and by baritones. And I'm singing it in a bass key, so some bits work well and some bits may not work quite so well.
And one of the things I think is really interesting is in Ich grolle nicht, where there is the option to go really high at the end, which a lot of tenors do because they like to do that, but you don't. And I think it's really effective, actually, doing what Schumann wrote without the option.
He did offer the low option, didn't he?
Well, I think he wrote the low option and offered the high option. And there's something quite painful about staying in the low key, which scrunches against the harmonies in the piano. But Dichterliebe is really a story. So the challenge for us, isn't it, of how we pace going from one to another, that you can't actually relax in between any of them at all.
And some songs have a definite end and then the next one begins, and some plead to go into the next one, don't they?
Yeah.
You just can't stop them going into the next one. And I want to just talk about the piano outplays, which so many songs have, this beautiful, beautiful pianistic outro to some of the songs, and particularly the very end one, song 16, which has a glorious minute of you just the best music in the piece from my point of view.
It is. It's an amazing ending, and of course very similar to his female song cycle, Frauenliebe, which does exactly the same thing. A really poignant ending, very sad last song, and the piano just takes us out with those emotions.
And the other two cycles I sing are the Liederkreis cycles, Op 39, and the other one, Op something, and all written in this same year. Amazing.
Yeah. But interesting also that apparently even at this time of great joy in his life, he was beginning to experience some of the psychosis and sort of mental instability that eventually sent him to an asylum with major mental illness, of course.
Yeah.
And you sort of hear that in the cycle, don't you? That it's all this falling in love, and it's spring, and it's a wonderful time because the birds are singing and the buds are flowering and everything, and it's that time of the year for falling in love. But then the pain comes and the anxiety. And
but we have to remember the original poet, Heine, who obviously had a incredibly tortured life to have come up with these terribly tortured songs. And just worth mentioning the last song, 16, just before you do your fabulous piano finish to the whole cycle. And the 16th song talks about the poet building a coffin and gathering all the materials together, and the coffin has to be huge. It's got to be these thick girders and as big as the bridge at Mainz, and it's got to be borne aloft by giants because it's so heavy, you know. And why has it got to be so heavy? Because the coffin has to carry all of my pain and all of my frustrated love, and it's and then to the piano at the end. Oh.
But do you think that the piano postlude actually gives some sort of hope, or is it just nostalgia? It's looking back to
the very first song, isn't it?
And but it's not a bleak ending, is it?
No,
it's an ending of
not.
hope and
I
resignation, isn't it?
Yes. So it's a wonderful cycle, justifiably, fantastically well known and loved by people, and I think it's to answer the question I think I asked you. I think it's the fact that the songs are they're so short and there's no time to lose interest because you're onto a different song with a different feel and a different emphasis.
So how do you find singing this sort of emotionally? I mean, do you find that you really get caught up in the story of this poet and the tragedy?
I love to, and I love the moment when I'm in a cycle when I'm just so completely absorbed by it and so completely in the moment of the singing that there is nothing else. There's no audience. It's just the music. It's an amazing feeling when one reaches that point, and very much that happens in this cycle.
Yeah. And that actually translates itself to the pianist as well, doesn't it? I mean, I think there are those really special moments when, for me as a pianist, when the singer, when you are really caught up in the music, and that absolutely makes a difference to how I then play, and that's what musical partnership is all about.
Aus meinen Tränen sprießen viel blühende Blumen hervor, und meine Seufzer werden ein Nacht die Gallenchor. Und wenn du mich lieb hast, Kindchen, schenk ich dir die Blumen all. Und vor deinem Fenster soll klingen das Lied der Nachtigall. Die Rose, die Lilie, die Taube, die Sonne, die liebt die ganz alle in Liebeswonne. Ich lieb sie nicht mehr, ich liebe alleine, die Kleine, die Feine, die Reine, die eine, sie selber alle Liebe wonne. Ist Rose und Lilie und Taube und Sonne. Ich liebe alleine, die Kleine, die Feine, die Reine, die eine, die eine. Wenn ich in deine Augen seh, so schwindet all mein Leid und Weh. Doch wenn ich küsse deinen Mund, so werd ich ganz und gar gesund. Wenn ich mich lehn an deine Brust, kommst über mich wie Himmelslust. Doch wenn du sprichst, ich liebe dich, so muss ich weinen bitterlich. Ich will meine Seele tauchen in den Kelch der Lilie hinein. Die Lilie soll klingend hauchen, ein Lied von der Liebsten mein. Das Lied soll schauen und beben, wie der Kuss von ihrem Mund, den sie mir einst gegeben in wunderbar süße Stund. Im Rhein, im heiligen Strome, da spiegelt sich in den Wellen mit seinem großen Dome das große heilige Köln. Nacht, das weiß ich längst. Ich grolle nicht, und wenn das Herz auch bricht, ich sah dich ja im Traume und sah die Nacht in deines Herzens Raume und sah die Schlange, die dir am Herzen frisst. Ich sah, mein Lieb, wie sehr du elend bist. Ich grolle nicht, ich grolle nicht. Und wüssten die Blumen, die Kleinen, wie tief verwundert mein Herz. Sie würden mit mir weinen, zu heilen meinen Schmerz. Und wüssten sie Nachtigallen, wie ich so traurig und krank, sie ließen fröhlich erschallen, erquickenden Gesang. Und wüssten sie, mein Wehe, die goldenen Sternelein, sie kämen aus ihrer Höhe und sprechen Trost mir ein. Die alle können's nicht wissen, nur einen kennt meinen Schmerz. Sie hat ja selbst zerrissen mir das Herz. Das ist ein Flöten und Geigen, Trompeten schmetten darein, Trompeten schmetten darein. Da tanzt wohl den Hochzeitreigen, die Herzallerliebste mein, die Herzallerliebste mein. Klingen und Dröhnen, das ist ein Klingen und Dröhnen, ein Pauken und ein Schalmein. Das Wichsen, Schluchsen und Stöhnen, das Wichsen, Schluchsen und Stöhnen, die lieblichen Engelein. Das Liedchen klingen, das einst die Liebste sang. So will mir die Brust springen vor wildem Schmerzendrang. Es treibt mich ein dunkles Sehnen hinauf zu Waldesheer, dort lässt sich auf in Tränen mein übergroßes Weg. Ein Jüngling liebt ein Mädchen, die hat einen Mann einer Welt. Der andere liebt eine andere und hat sich mit dieser vermählt. Das Mädchen nimmt aus Ärger den ersten besten Mann, der hat in den Weg gelaufen, der Jüngling ist übel dran. Es ist eine alte Geschichte, doch bleibt sie immer neu. Und wenn sie uns passiert, dann bricht das Herz in zwei. Traum geweihet. Mir träumte, du lägest im Grab. Ich wachte auf und die Träne floss noch von der Wange herab. Ich hab im Traum geweihet. Mir träumt, du verließest mich. Ich wachte auf und ich weinte noch lange bitterlich. Ich hab im Traum geweinet, mir träumte, du wärst mir noch gut. Ich wachte auf und noch immer strömt meine Tränenflut. dich freundlich grüßen, und laut auf Weinen stürz ich mich zu deinen süßen Füßen. Du sehst mich an, wehmütiglich, und schüttelst das blonde Köpfchen. Aus deinen Augen schleichen sich die Perlentränentröpfchen. Du sagst mir heimlich ein leises Wort und gibst mir den Strauß von Zypressen. Ich wache auf und der Strauß ist fort, und das Wort hab ich vergessen. Aus alten Märchen winkt es hervor mit weißer Hand, da singt es und da klingt es von deinem Zauberland, wo bunte Blumen blühen im goldenen Abendlicht und lieblich duftend glühen mit bräutlichem Gesicht. Und grüne Bäume singen nur alte Melodien, die Lüfter heimlich klingen und Vögel schmettert rein. Bilder steigen aus der Erde vor und tanzen Luftgen reigen im wunderlichen Chor. Und blaue Funken brennen an jeder Blatt und Reis und röte Lichter rennen in ihren wirren Kreis. Und laute Quellen brechen aus wildem Marmorstein und seltsam in der Bächen stand fort der Widerschein. Ach, könnt ich dorthin kommen und dort mein Herz erfreuen und alle qualend Normen und frei und selig sein. Ach, jenes Land der Wonne, das seh ich oft im Traum, doch kommt die Morgensonne, zerfließt's wie eitel Schaum, zerfließt's wie eitel Schaum. Die alten bösen Lieder, die Träume bös und arg, die lasst uns jetzt begraben, holt einen großen Sarg. Hinein leg ich gar manches, dort sag ich noch nicht was. Der Sarg muss sein noch größer, wie's Heidelberge Fass, und holt eine Totenpaare und Bretter fest und dick. Auch muss sie sein noch länger, als wie zu Mainz die Brück, und holt mir auch 12 Riesen, die müssen noch stärker sein, als wie der starke Christoph im Dom zu Köln am Rhein. Die sollen den Sarg vertragen und warum der Sarg wohl so groß und schwer mag sein. Ich senkt auch meine Liebe und meinen Schmerz hinein.
So I'm here with Brenda and Julian, who were the first classical artists to record for Home Stage. They did a recital last October, and they did a wonderful set of pieces of the Passion over the Easter period. How did you meet as a musical duo?
Well, it's a rather nice story because we met exactly a year ago on May the 29th in Clyde Mill car park.
Great.
And I'd taken
all the best things happen in Clyde Mill car park, obviously.
I'd just taken a quick detour to look at a house which I was interested to know where it was situated, and Julian was doing some maintenance work on the grounds and lugging
stuff. Into a skip.
Anyway, so we got chatting.
As you do.
So this was in the middle of the first lockdown, and we just got chatting because that's what you did.
Anyway, it turned out that Brenda was a pianist and that I did some singing, and how nice it would be to do something locally. But I had no idea how, whether Brenda was a grade 2 pianist or what. I had no idea. And a little bit of digging, and it turns out that Brenda was at Cheetham School of Music, which is the top music school in Britain, and she was in the accompanying department where there's about eight accompanists, and Brenda was the lead accompanist, head of the department. So I thought that spoke volumes.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
So Julian wrote my details because neither of us had any sort of cards or anything with us, and Julian wrote my email on the back of a tuna fish sandwich packet, which was the only bit of paper we could find in the Land Rover.
The business card is a great thing, except, you spend lots of money, you get nice business cards, you design them literally, you never have them on you when you need them.
No, exactly.
But a tuna sandwich packet is fine.
Yeah. I didn't hear from him for a few days, so I thought, that's that then, it's not interested, that was or maybe the tuna fish sandwich packets just got chucked in the bin.
We know the few days was he was just stalking
checking me
you
out.
and checking you online.
Checking me out, absolutely, I realise that now, yeah. But happily we did get in touch, and then we decided to meet up as and when we could, and tried some things through just for fun.
And the lovely thing is, in this church, Blakeney Church, we've got this piano, which is a Steinway. Yamaha, close. Yamaha. And in Clyde Church, in the next door village, there's a piano of sorts there, which we're hoping will be upgraded soon. So it's these fantastic churches with a fantastic piano is a dream combination. The other thing that Brenda wasn't aware of over the tuner sandwich packet is that I have quite a low voice, and lots of this stuff I do is transposed down, and my favourite key is D flat major.
He didn't tell me that.
Which is 5 flats, and not great.
No instrumentalist's favourite key is that, I'm afraid.
It's sort of become my favourite key. Well, because I've had to do so many things in D flat major.
It's so comfortable now.
It's now where my hands naturally go.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. As a violinist, I don't think my hands would ever naturally go to that, I'm afraid. Give me D minor any day.
One of the first things we talked about in the car park in the famous first conversation was the repertoire that we had in common. And Dichterlied was one of the first things we talked about. So because it seemed that May was going to be a time when we could start to perform again, it seemed that because the first song in Dichterlied was in the wonderful month of May, let's make this our Dichterlied the moment.
So Julian, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the last 3 pieces that we're going to hear, which are, how can I say, slightly different from the Schumann.
Total contrast to send people away less heartbroken and pained. And we're doing a song by Michel Legrand, who wrote Windmills of Your Mind, who I saw at Ronnie Scott's 2 years ago. Still a fantastic piece. He now has sadly died, but fantastic pianist, less good singer, it has to be said, aged 88 or whatever he was.
We'll forgive him.
We'll forgive him that. But we're going to sing his song, What Are You Doing the Rest of Your Life? Which is beautiful words, and basically saying, I don't mind what you're doing the rest of your life, but I'd like you to spend them with me. And they're very passionate words. We are going to do a love song of a different nature by Flanders and Swann. A song about an armadillo having an unfortunate love affair with an armour-plated tank. And we finish with Ivor Novello's We'll Gather Lilacs in the Spring Again, which is just such a great tune.
Beautiful. Well, what a perfect way to end our first classical Wednesday here on Homestage. So I hope you've all enjoyed the music so far. I know you're going to love these last 3 songs. Here we go.
What are you doing the rest of your life? North and south and east or west of your life? I have only one request of your life, that you spend it all with me. All the seasons and the time of your days, all the nickels and the dimes of your days, all the reasons and the rhymes of your days, all begin and end with me. I want to see your face in every kind of light, in fields of dawn and forests of the night, and when you stand behind the candles on a cake, oh, let me be the one to hear the silent wish you make, those tomorrows planted deep in your eyes, in a world of love you keep in your eyes. I'll awaken what's asleep in your eyes. It may take a kiss or 2 through all of my life. taking compass bearings for the ordnance survey on an army training camp on Salisbury Plain. I had packed up my theodolite, I was calling it a day, when I heard a voice that sang a sad refrain. Oh, my darling armadillo, let me tell you of my love. Listen to my armadillo round the lane. Be my darling on my pillow, underneath this weeping willow. Be my darling armadillo all the day. I was somewhat disconcerted by this curious affair, for a single armadillo you will own on Salisbury Plain in summer is particularly rare, but a pair of them is practically unknown. Drawn by that mellow solo, there I followed on my bike to discover what these armadillo lovers would be like. Oh, my darling armadillo, how delightful it would be if for us those silver wedding bells would chime. Be my darling on my pillow, you need only say I will. Be my darling armadillo all the time. Then I saw them in a hollow by a muddy yellow bank, one armadillo singing to an armor-plated tank. Should I tell him, gaunt and rusting, with the willow tree above, this, abandoned on maneuvers, is the object of your love? I left him to his singing, cycled home without a pause. Never tell a man the truth about the one that he adores. On the breeze that's followed sunset, I could hear that soft refrain, singing willow, willow, willow down the way. And I seemed to hear it still, oh, vive l'amant, vive l'armadillo, be my darling armadillo all the day. Be my darling armadillo all the day. Far away, and life is sad and grey, I have a scheme, a dream to try. I'm thinking, dear, of you, and all I mean to do when we're together, you and I. We'll soon forget our care and pain, and find such lovely things to share again. We'll gather lilacs in the spring again, and walk together down an English lane, until our hearts have learned to sing again. When you come home once more, and in the eyes will tell me all I want to know. When you come home once more, we'll learn to love anew the simple joys we knew, and share together night and day. We'll watch without a sigh the moments speeding by, when life is free and hearts are gay. My dream is here for you to share, and in my heart my dream becomes a prayer. We'll gather lilacs in the spring again, and walk together down an English lane, until